Hello again, friends. It's been a really hard couple of weeks, hasn't it? So many inexplicable acts of violence and terror to grieve. I don't know about you, but after months on constant high alert, my nervous system is close to short-circuiting. Dealing with the relentless onslaught of fear and grief and outrage takes so much mental and emotional energy. I know that you all can relate. In response, I've been turning more and more to community, to my community of colleagues at the University of Idaho, my community of beloved women friends, to this community for refuge and comfort. I've been reflecting on the power of gathering together every Sunday in this sacred and peaceful place. A place to just be, a place to breathe, a place to escape from the chaos of the world beyond that beautiful blue door. In her book, The Art of Gathering, How We Meet and Why It Matters, Priya Parker describes the act of gathering as a fundamental human activity that fosters meaning and connection and community, transforming our experiences and enriching our lives. Gatherings play a crucial role in our lives, serving various purposes that enhance our social and emotional well-being. Gathering fosters connection and community. We humans are inherently social beings. Gathering allows us to connect with others, share experiences, and build relationships. Whether it's gatherings with family or friends, community events or work retreats, structured meetings or informal get-togethers. These interactions can help us feel less isolated and more supported. Gatherings provide opportunity to create collective meaning and share our experiences. They allow us to celebrate milestones, mourn losses, and engage in cultural or spiritual practices that reinforce our identities and values. The mere act of gathering generates a unique energy that can further elevate these experiences. This phenomenon, which sociologist Emil Durkheim referred to as collective effervescence, occurs when individuals come together, creating a sense of belonging and shared purpose that enhances the emotional impact of an event. Many gatherings are rooted in cultural or social rituals that help us navigate life's transitions. From weddings and funerals to religious ceremonies and festivals, these events provide structure and meaning to our lives, reinforcing those community bonds. Gatherings can also facilitate change and growth. They can serve as platforms for dialogue, collaboration, and innovation. They allow us to exchange ideas, inspire one another, strategize, and work towards common goals. In gathering, we are bound together by something much deeper than mere proximity or habit. We gather because we recognize that our lives are intertwined and that the health and well-being of one soul, one family, one neighborhood ultimately affects us all. At the heart of our gathering is a question people have asked across generations and cultures. What does it mean to live justly with one another, to treat each other with dignity and care? And just as important, how do we build a world where justice is not an abstract ideal, but a reality? Justice, as we reflect on it today, is not merely about laws or verdicts. It's not just about opposing what is wrong, although that matters deeply. Justice is also about cultivating what is right. It's about conscience, courage, and community. Three forces that, when woven together, can transform societies and heal hearts. In Letter from a Birmingham Jail, dated April 16, 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. reminded us that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Now, that network of mutuality is not just a poetic phrase. It is a moral truth. It tells us that justice is never an isolated act. It is always relational. Justice begins with conscience, the quiet and yet persistent voice that tells us when something isn't right. Conscience is that inner awareness that recognizes dignity in every human being and refuses to look away when that dignity is violated. But conscience isn't automatic. It must be cultivated. It requires us to listen to our own moral instincts, but most especially to the lived experiences of others. It asks us to remain teachable, humble, and awake. Dr. King warned that one of the greatest dangers to justice is not overt cruelty, but moral complacency. In the end, he wrote, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Silence dulls our conscience. Comfort can anesthetize it. And fear can persuade us that injustice is someone else's responsibility. An active conscience doesn't immediately rush to judgment, but it does refuse indifference. It asks the hard questions. Who is being harmed? Who is being excluded? Who is being asked to carry a burden that they did not create? And then it asks an even harder question. What is my role in this story? If conscience tells us what is right, courage is what pushes us to act on it. Courage is often misunderstood. We imagine it as fearlessness, manifested through bold speeches and valiant, self-sacrificing leadership. But in truth, courage is usually quieter and unassuming. Courage is showing up when it would be easier to stay home. Speaking up when it would be easier to stay silent. Courage is standing with someone whose humanity is questioned, even when doing us would cost us comfort, approval, or certainty. Dr. King spoke often of this kind of courage, not rooted in anger or hatred, but in love. In his sermon titled Loving Your Enemies, which he delivered in 1957 at the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama, where he was pastor at the time, King insisted, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Courage rooted in love does not seek to triumph or to win. It seeks to protect dignity, to repair what has been broken, and to widen the circle of belonging. Courage is not about being perfect. It's about being faithful to what we know is right, even when the outcome is uncertain or potentially scary. It's about choosing compassion over convenience, truth over comfort, and solidarity over isolation. You see, conscience and courage cannot be sustained in isolation. They require community. Justice cannot thrive in environments of fear, shame, or conflict. It grows instead in spaces that are safe and supportive and nurturing, spaces where people can speak honestly, listen deeply, and belong without fear of being cast out. Dr. King understood this profoundly. He spoke of justice not as an individual achievement, but as a communal practice. He envisioned society as a beloved community, rooted in mutual care, shared responsibility, and active concern for one another's well-being. Community is what makes courage possible. When we know we are not alone, we are more willing to take risks for what is right. When we trust that we will be held, even when we stumble, we are more willing to stretch ourselves, to grow. Community also reminds us that justice is not only about resisting harm, it's about creating conditions where people can thrive. It's about ensuring safety, dignity, opportunity, and belonging. This idea is encapsulated in the work of many important community organizers and freedom fighters, and those voices throughout history who had the courage to speak truth to power. Labor leader and civil rights activist Dolores Huerta reminded us of the power of grassroots organizing and the empowerment of everyday people. Every moment is an organizing opportunity, she urged. Every person a potential activist, every minute a chance to change the world. And it is in community where those moments multiply. Too often, justice is framed as opposition against injustice, against systems of harm, against oppression. And while resistance is necessary, it isn't enough simply to challenge the wrongs in this world. Justice also calls us to be builders, to thoughtfully and intentionally build communities where people are nurtured and honored, and where differences are met with curiosity and interest rather than fear. To build systems that protect the vulnerable rather than exploit them. To build cultures where worth is not measured by productivity, wealth, or conformity, but by people's inherent humanity. One of my favorite writers, Black womanist scholar Bell Hooks, whose own work, like that of Dr. King, was rooted in an ethic of love, offers this wisdom in her book, Killing Rage, Ending Racism. Beloved, community is formed not by the eradication of difference, but by its affirmation. Her interpretation and expansion of Dr. King's idea of beloved community is clear. Justice does not require sameness. It requires commitment to one another, to shared values, and to the ongoing work of repairing and rebuilding community. This kind of justice takes time, takes patience, it takes grace, and it also takes the humility to know that none of us sees the whole picture alone. So what does this vision ask of us here and now? It asks us to tend our consciences, to stay awake, curious, and responsive to the world around us. It asks us to practice courage, not as a one-time act, but as a daily discipline of choosing love over fear. And it asks us to invest purposefully and inclusively in community, to create spaces where people feel safe enough to share their truth, strong enough to grow, and connected enough to stand together. In his sermon, 3 Dimensions of a Complete Life, Dr. King reminded us that life's most urgent and persistent question is, what are you doing for others? That question isn't meant to burden us with guilt from inaction, but to invite us into purpose and commitment. We do not walk this path alone. We walk it together, supported by others who came before us, and responsible to those who will come after us. Justice is not a destination that we arrive at for once and for all. It's not a one and done kind of deal. It's a conscious practice, an intentional way of living, choosing, and caring. May we be people of conscience who refuse indifference. May we be people of courage who protect dignity and stand with the vulnerable. And may we be people of community who create the conditions where justice and love and belonging can truly flourish. Thank you.